Okay, in the last topic, we talked about gathering and analyzing a world music performance, and now I'm going to introduce some basic concepts of rhythm. And the music of any particular world culture tends to be reflective of the traits of that culture. So if it's a culture that's dominated by the forces of nature and environment, its music may enjoy a static quality. If it's a culture that dominates the forces of nature and its environment, well, it may have aspects of action and energy about it. Western society was shaped by the ideas and institutions of Europe and the Middle East and Africa, and all these forces merged in the West during the Renaissance between 1450 and 1600. Western society is a goal-oriented society. Its languages, social institutions, and artistic media reflect the image of controlled and purposeful motion. So here's a video clip of a drumming group that I documented in West Sumatra. So just listen to this and watch the drummers and how they're interacting with each other, because I want to talk a little bit about that. Okay, so the quality of that clip really shows you what some of the issues are when you're doing field work, and I apologize for that, but I think you can see in that clip exactly what I'm talking about, and that's that the drummers are working together, they're playing rhythm in time, and that's the focus of this particular topic. So this graphic of this rhythm tree shows you how we divide sonic time over a period of time, and in this case, a whole note or a semi-breve is 4 beats in duration, a minim or a half note is 2 beats in duration, and so on. And that's what this rhythm tree represents. So it's groupings of notes. And we can divide groups into 2s, 3s, 4s, or duplets, triplets, quadruplets, and so on. So there's a concept of repetition and pattern in music as well, and this graphic shows the grouping of 3, 4, and what that represents is that there's 3 beats to each group, and the value of each of those beats is a crotchet or a quarter note. And that really represents the concept of grouping things and patterns. So often we repeat things over a period of time, but too much repetition, really, we need to make a variation or contrast, because of course too much repetition leads to predictability. So we use meter and time signature as a way of reinforcing groupings and patterns and rhythms and repetition, as well as variation. Here's an example that I've composed called Up in the 3. And again, it shows the concept of the same grouping that we were just looking at, groups of 3. But you can now see that there's different variations. So there's a dotted crotchet or quarter note, and then a quaver or an eighth note, and so on. So there's differentiations in this particular display. And this talks about, in some ways, the idea of patterns and repetition. So there's also the concept of speed, and speed has a lot to do with the feeling of a piece of music as well. So in this particular graphic, another piece of music that I wrote, it's called moderato, which means moderate, and in fact, it's a quarter note equals 92 beats per minute. So there's 2 ways of indicating the speed of the music. So tempo is an important ingredient when you're talking about music, because if it was aggressive or calming in effect, then it would have a different tempo. So usually excitement and so on is in a fast tempo, while slower and quieter music is in a slow tempo, and that type of thing. So mood and identification and ways of conceptualizing music are definitively interlinked with rhythm. Rhythm has a really strong element to it, and that's why we use it as a basic point of reference. So that's why in this module series I really started out with rhythm as the focal point. So in this topic, we've talked about grouping rhythms, we've talked about values, we've talked about the relationship of rhythm in terms of the mood, we've talked about tempo and speed as a way of, again, influencing the mood or the feeling of a piece of music. Tempo, is essentially an Italian word, and it identifies the speed of music as the way it's measured in terms of beats per minute. So we've talked about a few concepts and ideas, and in the discussion forum for this topic, when you listen to music, does it make you feel like you want to move? Does it make your feet tap in time? Does it make you feel like dancing or moving to the rhythm? Now, if you have a piece of music that you think really does that, maybe you should start a Spotify list and share it with your classmates, and you can talk about it on a more practical level, because you can really talk about the music that you're listening to. So that's another way that you can use these discussion forums. That's all for this topic. I'll see you in the next topic, Advanced Concept of Rhythm. This is Dr. Dave signing off.